I don't know, kind of a gradual start here. Um, so I think even like before we begin, you could notice like I find it's good to notice just your whole attitude when you're coming to take this class. Does it feel like you're excited, like, oh, good, I get to go to my meditation class? Or is it like, well, kind of don't want to, but I know I should, um, or even to the point of like almost drudgery of like, "Ugh, I've got, so much other stuff to do, and, you know, I'm not sure if this meditation stuff is working anyway. So the mind does this stuff, right? The stories, the blah, 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 blah. And well, look, somehow you ended up here. So, um, but to watch is to watch those hurdles that appear. It's just that's the mind doing its thing. And um, and gradually, we get to understand just that what we just call the nature of the mind, and kind of it can deceive or trick us almost like, oh, you can do that later. You ever had that thought? I'll do that later. It's like, what's going on? It sounds like a really good idea to do it later. So we're just aware of what's happening. So that's what we're studying here is like what's really going on here, what's happening in this moment. Um, so we should start by settling in. You might do this by just noticing, like, oh, that's right, I have a body. Um, what would work for me today of how to position myself? And yeah, it's like you kind of have this like, I'm a student, I'm an apprentice, I'm gonna put forth my full presence and study this in a way. I think of every time we practice, we're kind of going on a retreat. We're retreating, kind of putting aside our usual tasks and responsibilities, things that tug at us. And as we stop, you can just feel the kind of the grounding. You can even, maybe briefly just look around at your surroundings, how it's almost like you can turn your surroundings into a sacred space. This place you're in, it's safe, it's a peaceful place. Even if it's not a perfect place to meditate, it's a sacred space. Maybe you close your eyes and feel inside of your body this, and I'm right here. I'm here to do this work, this planting seeds of calm connection. Letting just the sound of the bell really invite you deeper inward. We're doing this work that we, typically don't deeply explore, like the fact that you could be relaxed right now. You can choose to relax, a feeling of physical relaxing. And as we relax, we ground. You almost might feel the body as like a big, heavy anchor. Maybe seeing the anchor of a giant ship, it's like that feeling, not going anywhere. I'm right here. And then a feeling of just spaciousness or uprightness, like, oh, yep. And then, just the lightness around your chest or your throat. How you can create that full space around your brain. In a way, we're still like preparing the soil in a garden, just getting it ready. You notice what's distracting you today. Things you're really trying to figure out. So we're not pondering anything right now. So that's the nature of the mind. You might even believe this, like, well, this calm space would be a really good time to figure out, to resolve this problem. So the teachings say, no, we're not really here to ponder anything. We want to experience this deeply. This is what it feels like to be here. Now your body is here. It's probably not going to just get up and run out of the room. But the mind does. So you see that nature of the mind. It seeks entertainment. There's a teacher, Rupert Spira, who says that when we're practicing, we're experiencing what he calls knowing being. What a simple experience. Just knowing what it's like to be alive. So rather than I am a good meditator, we shorten it to I am. Now, does it help to take a few deeper breaths? So if the mind is kind of jumpy and bouncy, then I'm going to breathe a little deeper and feel Feel my body. Feel into this knowing being. As we're aware of the nature of the mind, we notice like, oh, this is what it feels like to be free of worry. When I'm just here in reality, in real time, it's impossible to worry. I'm not dredging up any stories from the past. I can put all of that down. Putting down all the stories about my body. And I'm just going to be in my body, just feeling and perceiving. Your awareness is either here or it's not here. And if the mind wanders, we remember, oh, I'm practicing. I'm going to bring awareness back. And this is where you can choose, like, when I come back, I'm going to bring awareness to the space at my throat. And just let my throat and my mouth soften. I can sense and just feel my own being is free of tension. When the mind wanders, it can get tight and tense. And when we're here, this is where freedom is located. Ajahn Chah says the actual doing, when we do this work, the actual doing is what will instruct you. Your own authentic experience is what will instruct you. If the mind is dull, then you practice like, oh, I'm going to get interested in this. I'm going to feel my breath. What does it feel like to be aware of my whole body? Practice being relaxed and alert. Relaxed and alert. Oftentimes we have just a moment of freedom, remember a different teacher saying, if you can sustain the balance of these qualities of relaxed and alert for 2 whole breaths, you know, you've really made some progress. So I'm just going to take a few minutes, expound a little bit on this being more acutely aware of what it's really like when we're lost in our thinking, in our stories. In a way, to sound almost a little dramatic, but when we're lost in thought, we're actually almost in a different fantasized reality. And it takes us away from our life, our real life, from living our life. Like, I'm not even living my life when I'm lost. So it's said, I've read this both in meditation and in yoga, that these practices are what is called life affirming. It's like, I want to live my life. I really want to have that feeling of, yeah, I'm participating, not just kind of daydreaming or, like, what if you really did sit and watch Netflix all day? What would that feel like at the end of the day? And, maybe you've done some of that. We even have a name of like the binge watching, and we just learn like, well, what did that feel like to do that? And again, a little dramatic, but like, it kind of steals our life. We're not really participating. And believe me, I get it, of like wanting those times of watching a fun show or something. Um, but to just have some reflective time, like, yeah, what do I really want to do with my time? And that when we're in this kind of delusion or um, worrying is, but sometimes we're fantasizing about, yeah, maybe I should move somewhere else. That's a good idea. That'll be better when I move somewhere else. Um, that it just takes us away from reality. And it's this delusion can be kind of a dead end. Again, I'm not saying like sometimes it's appropriate to move somewhere, truly, but in our time in meditation, we're very real um, about what is that wise next step for us. So another way of describing this, I had a teacher recently talk about how like the stories we have about our body, for example, are very different than our actual relationship with our body. The story, I mean, maybe you have someone in your life, like a close relative, a partner or something, and the stories you have about that person and about your relationship are very different than your actual relationship, you know, of how you really are with that person, because the mind can whip up a lot of stories and just go on and on. But we, the actual, you know, time spent or the real relationship with that person is that's where we really learn, is when we're right in it, actually relating with the person right in real time instead of in our head, you know, what we create in our head. So the whole practice leads to less and less being caught in our stories, and in a way, life affirming. So we're, you know, we know life, it's hard, it's challenging, relationships are messy, but we see the benefit of, I'm going to get right in that, leaning into that messiness, because the, you know, the stories can just be that dead end. The stories are not reality, so we know this. And I find that this makes me actually want to, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning of class, this can make me actually want to come to the cushion to practice, because it kind of helps me recalibrate in a way. It's like, wow, I've really, you know, been whipping up some stories here. I would rather be in reality. Um, and less we, you know, um, yeah, it's like the heart kind of leaps at when it's like, oh yes, I really, or we can feel like emotional tension and stuff when we're really out of balance. And sometimes I notice this, like, I just need to stop. Like there's just something about stopping and getting clear that is, why would they call it, it's the path. It's the path that really leads to deeper and deeper understanding and peace. So when we're here and when we're sitting and we're practicing like letting go again and again and again, it's like we kind of, we understand what's going on. I'm letting go of all of these ways that the mind likes to construct almost like an alternate reality, instead of just being with things just as they are, being with the body just as it is. Being with our life as like the messiness, the imperfection, and being at ease with it. So we'll go ahead and practice again. You might play with this idea of just this being life affirming. It sounds like obvious. Well, of course I want to live my life, but, and I notice too sometimes when I'm finished practicing, it's like I'm really clear on like, what do I want to do with my time? What should I do? You know, so sitting comfortably, you feel just the energy in the body. I'm going to practice feeling and being. So when we notice what's happening right now, like we just see it clearly. Are you feeling energized or restless? If so, you might just bring awareness to your face or your lips and feel that softening. Get really interested in that softness of your skin. And then if you're feeling a bit more drowsy, then you want to just feel like, the inhale, the energy, the uprightness in body and the mind. We get interested in that feeling of full presence. There is a little bit of zeal. I'm really going to practice being here. Now, when you're aware of your breath, it's like, the breath is actually doing both of these. Your inhale, you could imagine like, energy, and feel this aliveness within. And the exhale, we're paying attention if there's any distractions, we're letting them go. It's kind of simple, like I'm a person sitting. It's almost radical to be free. I'm just sitting here, but I'm experiencing being free of tension. I see this as something I can choose. A knowing being. It can feel good to be free of pondering others. You might bring in this kind of awareness of your body where, as you bring awareness to the base of your body, and when you inhale, you imagine that inhale just lifting like energy up, like all the way up to your brain, skull. And then as you exhale, the exhale kind of moves back down to the earth. So you get just this feeling of this little wave of breath energies moving through the body. Like, oh, just feeling into being, aliveness. Life affirming, appreciating. Why would I go anywhere else? Inside the body, soft, relaxed. The belly is soft. Naturally, thoughts will come in. You might do how Jenny has instructed the just the labeling, like, oh, I'm thinking about my sister or something, and like, I'm just gonna let that go. You might notice you become very sensitive. Notice what you're perceiving moment to moment. The quality of the mind is it's sensitive. They say it's the mind like wild deer, really attuned. There's no threat nearby, so body, mind, heart at ease. And practicing being at ease with things just as they are. When we're on retreat, we're actually deeply experiencing life. We're not escaping. So when we're finished with our formal practice, like we do want to understand that in order to then now, like, kind of move back into our life, um, that we do this practice not in a way to see, like, gosh, if I could just meditate all the time, I'd be fine. You know, that it really just is a deep understanding of what's important to us, what's not important, how to let go of, um, thinking stories that are really creating a lot of suffering. And that we're attentive, like all the time, of um, ways that um, we stay in our life. Um, so yeah, we're meant to then, like now, kind of get off the cushion. There's sometimes there have been stories that they tell these stories about the instructor that goes up to the monk and says, "You need to get off of your cushion." you know, Go out there and live. So yeah, always just playing with that balance. So thank you everyone so much for doing this work. I find that the world really needs this, needs practitioners. So thank you.